Oh, it's been a long day. What's up? Drink with James, episode 128. What time is it, Tim? It's 5:30. I am about 16 hours away from boarding a private plane and flying down to Miami. And I understand that I am an annoying person, but I don't care. NetJet's Four Seasons trip tomorrow. We do it every year down to Basel. We got some favorites coming back. Helena, Sai. We got some fresh blood coming in there. That trip's already going to be done by the time you see this video. But if you want to go back and see some elevated private jet content, peruse my feed or others. We have important news today, guys. Today is Tim Jeffries' birthday. I'm not going to say how old he is. I never tell a lady's age. But it is Tim's birthday today. Tim, as many of you know, this whole show is Tim's idea. Sure, I am the face of it. Sure, I'm the creative genius behind actually giving you the advice. But Tim came up with the idea. All Tim wants for his birthday is to get over 1,000 followers. Very sad. Don't laugh at Tim. All he wants is to get over 1,000 followers. So all of you, if you enjoy this show and you don't follow Tim, which I know you don't because he doesn't have 1,000 followers and more than 1,000 when you watch this, go follow Tim. Tim's going to throw up his handle here. Let's see where we can get him to. Again, if you've ever gotten anything valuable out of this, in some way you owe it to Tim. In a much bigger way, you owe it to me. And certainly if you haven't hit follow on me yet, I would go there after. But for Tim's birthday, let's slide over to his Instagram and bump him up over 1,000. If you get there and he's already over 1,000, give him a follow anyway.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Tim. There you go. That's gonna work. Before we get into questions, quick thing. A bunch of you asked, what did I think about the Payless shoes stunt? For those of you who didn't see, I didn't actually read the article, but I saw some headlines. Payless set up a store in LA that looked high-end, and they invited a bunch of influencers, and they sold Payless shoes for $600, and they got an influencer to buy them, and then there was a bunch of articles about it. I think it was a clever stunt from the Payless marketing team. I think it's a good way to show that the shoes, while affordable, are can look really elevated and can look like a $600 shoe. What I don't like about it is I don't think making a fool of people is funny. That is never like a kind of humor that I really liked. I don't enjoy laughing at someone if they're not like in on the joke. And so a lot of the press coverage wasn't like, oh, look at this creative activation. It was like, Payless tricked this dumb influencer into buying these shoes. Ha ha ha, aren't influencers stupid? That's the tone of the articles that I was seeing and what it looked like. And it just, to me, struck me as a little like mean-spirited in a way. But I don't think that was Payless's fault. I think that was the media, who generally doesn't like influencers, as what you all are doing is a direct threat to their livelihoods. And so journalists generally actively dislike influencers and think the industry's a joke, and roll their eyes at everything influencers do. So I think they're very willing and ready to take a shot at influencers where they can. So that is my lukewarm take on the Payless pop-up. So let's move on to questions. Okay, question number 1. I'm growing my followers, but likes aren't what they used to be. Why, how, and what is an engagement rate that we should be driving at? Good question. There's a bunch of questions this week on engagement. Let's start out with a few truths, a few things we absolutely know to be true. As your following grows, engagement falls. That happens with every person on Instagram. We have seen that trend for 5 years, for as long as we've been watching it. So as your following grows, your engagement percentage will fall. So that is to be expected. If you have a similar amount of followers but you're getting less engagement, go back to a lot of the stuff that we have talked about in the past of trying new things, of understanding that tastes change and platforms change and people just get sick of the stuff you're doing and maybe you need to change it up. And there's a lot you can do from a content perspective to try and reinvigorate your following. Something else to remember is thinking about why people like a post. We've talked about this before, that there is no reason for your followers to like or comment on your post. If they see the post, they get the same benefit out of seeing the post and not liking it as they do seeing it and liking it. So the only reason they would like it is if they want to send a message to you essentially saying, hey, I saw this and I liked it. That implies a relationship, that implies that they think you're gonna see it. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that engagement falls as the following grows, is that people become less certain that you're even gonna see that like, so you're just like it's like spitting into the ocean. It's like, it's not gonna do anything. And so people don't like it. But also I think you have to continue to foster that relationship. I think that as influencers grow sometimes, let me say this. I think when a lot of influencers start out, they are audience focused. They say, I want to put things out into the world. I have a point of view that is not represented. I have a unique sense of style. I have a story to tell. Whatever it is, I have something to put out there. I think I can help people. And they are focused on the audience. What do people want to see? And then I think as people grow and as that following gets more serious and as it becomes a business, something that you're making money off of, I think sometimes the mindset changes from being audience focused to being me focused. And influencers start to think, how can I get more brand deals? How can I get a free stay at a hotel? Me, how can I get more followers? And what's crazy is they completely forget the thing that got them to have a following in the first place, which is being audience focused and focusing on delivering value to your audience every day. And they start thinking about themselves. They start focusing less on the content and more on getting brand deals and more on schmoozing with other influencers or going to 5 events every night. And that stuff is important, but generally you can see an influencer's rise and them getting busier with a fall in growth and engagement because they're no longer focusing as much on the content and they're not focusing on the audience. If things worked for you at one point and they're not working now, it probably either means that you changed something that was working, i.e. you used to be audience focused, now you're you focused, or something has changed in the world and you need to adapt to it, i.e. the style of photography or the thing that you're doing is no longer as popular and you need to evolve and grow. So look at those two things. What engagement is normal? Tim, do you put things up here? Here? We'll put a chart up here of what the average engagement is for each following level. You guys screenshot that and see where you're at. Those are averages over 30 days. So take your last 15, 20 photos, add all the engagement, divide it by the number of photos, divide it by your following number. That's your engagement percentage. Benchmark it against these. It's a good question. What makes me like a photo? First, I would ask yourselves that. Go to your settings, go to your Instagram, go to your settings, go to photos I liked, and look through it. And if you're not on a liking spree, trying to get people to engage with you, I think what will surprise you is how few photos you like. I like a handful of photos a day, and usually it is either, again, people I have relationships with who I want them to see that I saw it, like they are announcing something exciting, there's some life change, or they just look great or have a cool photo, but I really do feel like they're gonna see it. And so it is maintaining that connection between myself and the person I know. That's usually it. That's usually the only reason I like something. I think, with the algorithm, I have started liking photos a little bit more of accounts that I want to see more often. So that is, something that drives my behavior as well, because I know the algorithm does take into account if you're visiting their profile, liking their photos, commenting on it. So that's probably another driver for me. I think I maybe misspoke when I talked about a relationship. There are people online that I feel like I have a relationship with who I've never met or spoken to, but I've been following them for years, and I still feel like I have a relationship with them. Even if we've never DM'd or anything like that, somehow they've created that connection. I'm sure that is what y'all have done with your audience. They feel connected with you. Maybe some of y'all think we have a relationship. We don't, but maybe you feel that way, right? So look at that. Go to your liked photos and ask yourself for each of them, why did I like these, and try and, and try and use those learnings in your own feed. We say something here at Four all the time when we're talking about sales and strategy, and we say that the specific is universal, right? And so if you can find a specific example, why did you like this photo? You can probably extrapolate that out much further to why anyone would like any photo. Question number 2. What do you think the future of YouTube is regarding sponsorships and brand deals? I consider Instagram more of an awareness tool, YouTube more of a conversion tool. First of all, I know this show is very Instagram heavy, and I hope that changes. We don't talk about YouTube more because I don't know enough about YouTube. I feel pretty confident speaking about blogs and speaking about Instagram, and if anyone cared, speaking a little bit about Twitter, but no one does. I just don't know YouTube that much. I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube watching videos. I don't post these videos, and so I'm not actually running this account, and so my knowledge is not as deep as it should be. We also don't run a lot of campaigns with YouTube. We're doing more of that, and we're actively pursuing it, but YouTube's so locked up by the MCNs that it's difficult to get any market share there. So that is why I haven't talked about YouTube. I think YouTube is exponentially more powerful than Instagram by magnitudes. I think growing a following on YouTube is much more valuable and much more impactful than growing a following on Instagram. I think that you won't get, I think someone with 100,000 Instagram followers and 100,000 YouTube subscribers, the Instagram following is more easily understood by the general population. I have 100,000 Instagram followers. People are like, oh shit, that's a lot of Instagram followers. I have 100,000 YouTube subscribers. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you, wait, what? What do you do? So I just don't think it's in the public lexicon as much. So I don't feel confident speaking to what the future of YouTube is. I will say that as more and more influencers flock to Instagram, as Instagram becomes more and more full of brand messaging, both sponsored and unsponsored, YouTube becomes more and more valuable and more interesting because it is not as saturated. Just take a quick left turn. We talk about sponsored content, the fact that there's too much sponsored content. There's too much just brand content. I mean, even the organic shit, it's more than 50% of my feed is posts about brands. And it's these platforms were meant to be about your life, and brands and the things you wear and the things you put on your face are part of your life. They are not your entire fucking life. And the whole platform is just become so brand focused, so brand messaging focused, even on the organic side. It gets less and less interesting almost every time I open it, which is an opportunity for YouTube and for people that are creating content on YouTube, because I do think that because it is less popular with advertisers, it is less saturated with brand messaging. And I do think that the people following YouTube feeds and subscribing to YouTube feeds rather, and watching videos are more engaged and certainly more likely to purchase than somebody on an Instagram account. So the future of YouTube is, I think it becomes more and more powerful, especially if Instagram starts to stumble, which I think over the next couple of years it will. Question number 3. How can influencers succeed if they can't physically attend events or meetings? We talk a lot about the power of in-person meetings. We talk a lot about the power of going to events. Certainly if you live in New York or LA and you're an influencer, one of the great benefits of living in those cities is the access to brand events and to be able to get face time with brands. Can you be successful without those things? 100%. Money in the advertising world, which is what you guys are in, money follows eyeballs. Eyeballs are the great equalizer in advertising. It is the only thing that matters. What eyeballs can you put my message in front of, and do those eyeballs give a shit about you and that message? So I think that even without getting in front of the brands, even without going to those meetings, if you have a powerful community that is watching you and listening to you, brands will follow. It is harder without that face time to stay top of mind. It is harder to build the relationships without going to events. It's harder because you don't get, seen with all these other influencers, and you don't get to meet everyone at these brands, but it is definitely possible. It's just a little longer road. But again, end of the day, you could go to every event and you could have in-person meetings every day with brands, and if you don't have the eyeballs and those eyeballs don't care about what you're publishing, you're not going to get anything. So if you could have one or the other, proximity to events and meetings or actual influence over people, you take the influence, the rest will follow. Listen, friends, we are going to drink some champagne as it is Tim's birthday. I don't know what dessert he has requested, but we will find out shortly. Remember to mash that follow button. Remember to ask us some questions, and I'll see you post my jammy.